I am Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Susie.
And we're paranormal specialists who live in the most haunted city on earth, Savannah, Georgia. Every day is Halloween in our line of work, so join us as we spin true tales of haunts, murders, and disturbing Savannah history. I'm Madison.
I'm Chris.
And welcome to the most haunted city on earth.
Hello and welcome to Most Haunted City on Earth podcast. I'm Chris Susie.
I'm not Madison Timmons. I'm Elle Dougherty.
That's right. We have a special guest in the studio, and we've actually just pushed Madison right out. She is busy elsewhere doing witchy things on this witchy morn. So we have Elle, a Parajunkie Supreme, here to join us and share us stories of mayhem and spiritual boogity-boogities. She is also responsible for our merch.
That's right.
This is the person responsible for all the art that we've been showcasing and showing, and you can purchase all forms of merchandise with her stuff slathered all over it, much like the hat.
Yes. So I have designed some awesome stuff, definitely featuring some of Chris's special quotes, such as "oogity boogity, woogity woogity." I highly recommend.
And for those of you who are getting in late to this trend, early on in the podcast, we would talk about certain things, and oogity boogity, which is clearly displayed on her hat, is something that I use to describe the act of being scary, of something being scary. If something is scary, it is an oogity boogity. If you feel scared by something being oogity boogity, you feel woogity woogity. So oogity boogity is the act of scaring, and woogity woogity is the reaction to that.
And some of the stories that I have experienced had some woogity woogities,
right.
So we will definitely
solid
get right
woogity
into
woogities
that.
all around.
Yes.
And what we had learned is that most of our parajunkies become parajunkies because they themselves have stories of supernatural happenings, strange encounters, and they're drawn to our podcast because we have this very open policy of accepting every story and listening to everybody and trying to validate and absolutely acknowledge that these experiences are real and that their experiences are not, does not make them isolated. They're a part of a community of people who have all experienced things. So we're going to talk about some of your experiences today.
Yeah, I am super excited for this.
So we'll just dive right in. Let's start with what you would classify as probably your most profound experience or your most intense experience, I guess.
That sounds good. So I was very close to my grandmother. Me and her were best friends. She would consider me her best friend. I think definitely to preface, my family's from the UK, first generation American, which is super cool. Yeah. Don't sound like it, and no one would guess, typically. But so my grandmother, my mom's mother, we were super close. She'd come and visit over to the U.S. a lot, which we're really fortunate for. Like, she'd come several times a year. We became very close. And like I said, definitely one of my best friends. But during COVID, she unexpectedly got really sick. We think that she had COVID around March of 2020. And she then was still felt sick or still had cough and hard catching her breath. Still into May. My mom, being a nurse, was like, it's long COVID. And she lived farther away. And it was hard for my grandmother to go to the doctor. When she finally did, we found out that she had stage 4 cancer, lung cancer, which was really unfortunate. My mom went over and was with her for her last little bit of life. And so with her being my best friend, I really wanted to go. But my mom was like, no, you need to stay. You have school to do. There's a pandemic. Don't get sick. So I was really frustrated. But I stayed in contact with my grandmother this whole time. And about a week before she passed away, she stopped talking. And I still continued to message her and call her as much as I could, even though I knew she wasn't going to respond. And the day before she passed away, my mom called my family. It was kind of like, hey, this might be it. And so we were like, oh crap. And so we're all talking just kind of as a family. And I was like, I really would like to talk to her. Please let me talk to her. My mom's like, she's not going to respond. And I was like, I don't care. My mom was like, no, I'm telling you she's not going to respond. I was like, Mom, please let me do this. So I started talking to her, just like a normal conversation, having normal pauses as if she was responding. Then all of a sudden she said something. And I was like, like I was in shock. My family was in shock, and I feel so bad that I don't remember what she said. Like literally, I'm like, what I would do to just remember what she said. But we were all in shock, so no one remembers it. And the next morning, we find out that she'd passed away, and it was really hard. And that was in September 8th, which funnily enough, a year later, the Queen died on the same day, which is really weird. Anyway, so about a month and a half later, I have this dream. And I do have very intense dreams, I'd say. But this dream was different. How I described it was, have you seen the movie The Book Thief?
Yes.
Yeah, so there's a scene where they're on the train and they get off the train because the younger brother has died.
All right.
Don't worry, that's not really a spoiler. And so they get off the train and they're in this snow-covered field and it's really bright and there's these train tracks as they're burying her brother. Well, where I ended up in this dream was this field that was very bright and there was snow all over the ground. In the distance was trees and train tracks, but no train. And what was different about this dream that I noticed was it was very bright, like almost blinding, or like if you're in like a very snowy place where like you kind of get snow blindness. And me and her are walking and we're kind of like talking and laughing like we used to do because we used to go on a lot of walks in the woods. And I see across the train tracks, so behind us are the woods, across the train tracks is her house, and inside is like all of our loved ones, our close family friends, my family, and they're having a Christmas party. And so we start approaching the train tracks, and I'm definitely like, come on, like everyone's waiting for you, like let's go. And she stops at the train tracks, and she won't go, and I'm like what's wrong? And she doesn't say anything, but she used to kind of speak with me with her eyes, where she'd look very intently at you, almost like soul searching, and you could kind of tell what she was saying in life. But she did this to me. Like she put her hands on my shoulders and just looked me really deep in the eyes. And I knew that she couldn't come with me. And part of me was like, I told her, I was like, okay, but this is a dream and I know you're dead. But like for the last time, like just come with us and come hang out with us, you know, like as a big celebration, especially with the circumstances. And she kind of was like, I really want to, but I just can't. She didn't say that, but she like felt it with, with her eyes. And then that was kind of like an accepting thing for me because I really struggled accepting that. I was like, she's not really gone. And with her being so far away always, it didn't, like it hit me, but I was like, but she's not actually gone. She's just in a different country. And so I gave her a hug and I walked across the train tracks toward the house because she was like, no, you go. And everyone kind of welcomed me in open arms, and she had started walking back towards the woods. But instead of feeling like a really deep sense of like loss or like longing, I felt very at peace, kind of like she wanted to say goodbye to me. And so that was really lovely. But what then got weird, because I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh. So I told my mom. She's like, that's weird. A couple nights later, my mom had a very similar dream. And now that's not my story to tell, but it had similar parameters. Like it was very bright. And when she saw my grandmother, there was a sense of peace. And that's probably all I should also say, because that's for my mom.
Sure, of course.
But very strange. And there's another little bit. I don't know if I can get into that next. But
yeah, please.
So,
no reason to hold back here.
So related to my grandmother, who is like very near and dear to me, if you can't tell. After we had buried her, and before I start, there's a song. Do you know "Over the Rainbow" by Big IZ?
Yeah.
Yes. So
yeah.
I
love that song.
I introduced her to that song, and my aunt used to think it was really funny because Big IZ was like so big and his ukulele was so small, and so we just like love that song because it's a really nice song, and like we had a really good time the first time we listened to it as a family. And my grandmother was like, please play this at my funeral. And I was like, don't talk like that because you're going to live forever. She didn't, unfortunately. And so after we buried her, where she's buried, and I love it because I'm a nature nerd, she's buried in a forest with all native trees. So each person gets a tree. And once the site is filled, they're just going to maintain it minimally. So it has only natural plants that come back. It's beautiful.
That's very cool.
And the church that on the property of the church that she's buried in, they have graves for crusaders. So like super old.
Oh, wow.
Part of the church was like I guess, destroyed by King Henry VIII. So you can like see
very
how
old.
it's very
It's a
old.
very old church.
But it's super cool.
Yeah.
So it's really fun to walk around on that property. But so we go and we like see her gravesite after we bury her, and we look up and there's a rainbow, and we're like, no way. Because in the UK, it's like really dark and cloudy.
Right.
And we're like,
Right.
so the fact that there's sun and then a rainbow is crazy. And we're like, there's no way. And then there was a double rainbow. So we're like, okay, that's it. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
And then the other experience that I had, I'd say with her, when I was doing my internship in Mexico for whale sharks. So if you don't know, I study whale sharks. As a part of my senior thesis, I'm doing a like whale shark survivability study in Bahia de Los Angeles, Mexico.
Wow.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Elle's so smart.
Thank you. So if you're interested, I'd be more than happy to talk more about that at a different time. But
We'll have to start a whole different podcast just on, just sea life and
yeah, that would be really cool. So there was one day where I was like really missing her because I was like, wow, I really wish she was here to see all of the cool stuff that I've been able to do that she really encouraged me to do. And I'm looking in the sea spray and I noticed that there are these little rainbows, but like, there's normally like sea spray and there's rainbows, but they're lasting longer than normal. And I'm like, that's a little weird. Maybe I'm just seeing things because I want to see them. And I'm like, there's no way. Well, when we pull back up to the field station, what song is blasting from the kitchen?
Oh, boy.
Like so loud that we could hear it on the beach. And I was like, there ain't no way. And then I look behind me and there's a massive rainbow
Wow.
over the bay. And so I was like, okay, like even though it
love
doesn't
that.
feel like she's with me all the time, like I kind of knew that.
Right.
So
that's amazing. And what a great symbol for connection.
absolutely.
One of great promise and hope and beauty and nature.
The rainbow connection.
And of course, the rainbow connection.
So
Well, it's very interesting because train tracks in many cultures and beliefs create a perfect allegory for life. And a lot of times people kind of like utilize that. My child, I believe, had past lives, and we had discussed it before. But one time they told me about the in-between lifetime, between the last life and this life, where because I asked, how did you get into mommy's belly? Mm-hmm. And she said, I rode a train. I rode the train. I rode the train to mommy's belly was the answer. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And so we were talking, but I was asking if they could remember that time between lives. And because according to them, we have been together forever. Like we always come back as family. Sometimes
family.
Sometimes I'm the parent, sometimes I'm the child, sometimes it changes back and forth. And they were like, yeah, we were at the train station, hanging out and deciding which we would be, and I decided to be the child this time and you would be the parent. And
Wow.
And it was all framed in this idea that there's like this train station.
It's like Harry Potter.
It was
Yeah.
very like Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Like when that scene in Harry Potter, I was like, that's what
crazy.
what
love
Sushi kind of
that.
talked about. But it was an interesting thing because I've heard it time and time
Yeah.
again. And the interesting thing is about the tracks, the concept of there being a boundary that the dead shouldn't cross.
Yeah.
Because the difference in between becoming a fond memory and a frightening haunting is whether or not you cross the line, whether or not you hold on, right? And seeing a loved one saying, I can't, I have to let go. Because if they don't let go, if a spirit holds on, that's usually causes pain to the family that's alive and certainly causes pain to the spirit. Because they're not together in the way that they want to be. They're not together in a meaningful way. They're clinging on, and that oftentimes causes a lot of pain. There was a movie called it was the Robin Williams movie, What Dreams May Come.
Yes. Yeah.
So in What Dreams May Come, there was a scene. He was a ghost, and he touched his wife, who was mourning, and when he touched her, she just lost it. She just fell over in pain. Because that's what your presence does to the people who are mourning. It causes them to hold on to the pain and realize and be recognized. Sure. So the fact that there's these gentle reminders, these gentle notes from a loved one saying, I'm still here, I'm just not going to cling on to you. I'm not going to like try to insert myself into your life. It's kind of like this beautiful message of how, life goes on.
Yeah.
And they don't just vanish. But the more present we try to make them, the more inconvenient it is for everyone.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
You got to be careful about making room in your life for the dead, simply because they will occupy the space that we make for them in our hearts. But if you go too far, it could ruin things. It could make it comfortable and painful. So yeah, that's a wonderful story. And I always think that when loved ones visit in dreams, there's no reason to like speculate.
Yeah.
There's no reason to have a conversation as to, well, I wonder if that was a haunting. Of course it was. You know, there's no reason to doubt it. You know, it's the most natural treatment for a loved one is to reach out, and especially when it's like to soothe or to calm and not to oogity boogity you.
Yes. No, I definitely woke up feeling a little woogity woogitied. Just kind of like, that was really different, but I'm not mad about it. And it's definitely something I haven't been like chasing to like seek again. There was actually, so just before my 21st birthday, as I was falling asleep, so I was at my parents' house and I'd work the next day, which I was kind of like, great, I'm working on my 21st birthday. But something my grandmother used to do is like when I was younger and as I was going to sleep, she'd come in my room and just like sit on my bed. Well, as I'm falling asleep the night before my 21st birthday, I feel someone like sit down. And I was like, no. And so I kind of like woke up a little bit more and I was like, ain't no way. So I moved my foot over there and there's like a clear dent in the bed. And I was like, where's my dog? And I was like, Muskrat, are you on my bed? No, she wasn't.
Wait, her name's Muskrat?
Yeah, so her name's actually
cute.
Belle.
Oh, okay. But you call her Muskrat.
But my sister came up with the nickname Muskrat, and that's all that she responds to. I don't know how we got that name, but she's a Redbone Coonhound Lab mix.
Oh, wow.
And a menace. I love her. So our backyard just has like trenches now from where
Sure, of course.
Yeah.
That's muskrat behavior.
Yes.
That is
so
That is not Belle.
Sorry to interrupt, though. What
no,
was it?
that is totally fine. So yeah, Muskrat was not on my bed, and then I was like, I don't know, and then I feel like a clear hand like lay gently on my leg, and I was like, okay, she's wishing me happy birthday, and that was probably the best gift that I
That's
received
awesome.
on my 21st
great.
birthday.
All your stories are so positive. This is the most positive episode we've ever filmed. This is great. I love it. It's super different.
Right, and we have definitely said time and time again that the majority of ghost stories are actually positive. The majority of ghost stories are great.
Yeah.
We just don't spend a lot of time. They don't sell tickets. You know, you know, nobody wants to buy the feel good ghost book. You know, they want the blood and gore ghost book.
Yeah.
And gather around the campfire and be like, and then I felt a warm hug. Ooh.
I don't know.
But our listeners, I know, like they like all ghosts. Like any ghost story ever, they're just
No, absolutely.
yeah. The public, like just the regular people, they're gonna be like, yeah, where's the death?
We do get a lot of ghost mails where they're like trying to apologize for not being scary, or they're trying.
So I'm really sorry.
No,
It's like, this is good.
ghost stories do not have to be scary.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
Campfire stories should be. Like if you're going to tell a story around a campfire, make it scary.
Yeah.
But no, if you're just relating a ghost story, the vast majority of them are positive, and the vast majority of them are of that similar vein of some loved one coming back and visiting and reassuring. So moving on, we know that you have several ghost stories, so we don't want to spend too much time on any one of them. So let's move to another ghost story of yours or another experience of yours.
So I'll talk about my experiences in Savannah. So this is my third time in Savannah. Woo! My first time, I think I was like in 5th grade with my Girl Scout troop. We went to
birthplace.
Birthplace. I graduated from being a brownie to a junior there, which is the different levels of Girl Scouts if you guys are familiar. And so that was super fun, but didn't really have any ghosty experiences there. The second time was actually about 6 months ago around my birthday. Me and my roommate / best friend Christy were like, let's go to Savannah, because why not? We wanted to do some hikes, go see some wildlife, and then we actually did the show, the Savannah Underground, which is awesome. I 1,010% recommend. So we're standing in, it's like really dark, and there's only like a light above a table, like once you walk in and you're waiting for the show to start. And I think there was supposed to be more people there, but they didn't show up. So it was like me and her and then 2 other people. So it was only the 4 of us, which was awesome.
Yeah. I remember that.
yeah.
I was in New York and I'm like, wait, so Elle's at the show and our party of like 13 didn't show up? I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So it was great. So we were like, okay, where are these people? And everyone's kind of like, is it just us? Like, that's fine. So
You're
I'm
all
like,
gonna die.
I know. I was like, oh my gosh, this is wow. Okay.
That's never happened before.
So
that was wild. Sorry.
no, it's fine. I'm just
crazy.
special. It's fine. No kidding. So I was actually wearing this sweatshirt, and I feel something, and I feel this part of my sweatshirt, this little like tag, like lift up. So I look down. I'm
For
like,
those of you
what?
who are only listening, she
yeah.
is wearing a hoodie that has a zipper hood, so she is pointing to the tassel hanging from the zipper in the front.
So it lifts up, and I'm like, and I like, you can kind of feel it lift up, and I'm like, okay, that's weird. And it pulls me, and I'm like I'm looking at my shirt like this, and then it drops. What? And I was like, what? And so I look at my friend Christy, and I'm like, okay, what did you do? And she's like, do what? And I'm like, okay, I know it's dark in here, but like, are you trying to like freak me out or something? And she's like, no, I'm trying not to get freaked out myself. And then immediately the show starts. Like the guy comes in, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And so
Ghost just wanted you to have a good show.
Yeah,
They're prepping you. They're
literally
trying to give you a little pregame.
Yeah. So I think I ended up messaging you, and you were like, oh my gosh, the ghosts know the show, like when the show's about to start. So they're trying to get our attention to kind of be like, okay, the show's about to start. Like, you need to be ready for this. So I thought that was pretty funny.
That is
awesome.
pretty funny.
It was really, because I
it's
like
pretty haunted in here.
Yeah.
It is. And it only gotten more so because we keep filling it with haunted artifacts.
We had a. It's funny you mentioned that because we had a guy who was he attended the Ghost Brothers show on Friday. He was part of the Ghost Brothers thing. Yeah, they brought a ton of people, and the Ghost Brothers loved the new show. They had a great time. But the dude walks in and he just like kind of like runs out almost.
Oh my gosh.
And while everyone else is coming in, he's like, excuse me. He goes, and he looks at me. He goes, "What was this place?" And I'm like, "It was a train station." It was like, yeah, I know, right?
Sorry.
That's crazy, right?
That is crazy.
It was a train station. There's railroad tracks underneath the ground on either side of the building. And he goes, "There's something icky in there." And I'm like, it's not supposed, like, does it smell bad? Like, I'm just thinking, in my mind, I'm thinking he's saying, like, it's like the theater. I'm like, it's super clean in there. What do you mean? And he's like, there's an entity in there, and I don't like it. And I'm like, well, you're not getting a refund.
Yeah.
Gotta put that in the contract.
Yeah.
No
And,
refunds for icky feelings.
No
And,
refunds for woogity woogity.
That's right.
Yeah. And,
As a matter of fact, we might charge extra for woogity woogity.
and this dude literally stays out there until the show's about to begin. And I'm like, "Sir, you have your seat. Like, are you coming in?" And he's like, "Yeah, but can I leave at any time?" I'm like, "No, you're locked in. Come on." And he's like, "Oh," obviously I'm joking. And I'm like, "We have 3 fire exits." And so he comes in, and I didn't hear anything from him after that. I think he died. So
He was eaten by the
You're
spirit.
It's like there was 13 people coming in and only 12 coming out. New prop. That's great. No.
There it is.
But yeah, so if you guys are like, I don't know if I want to go. I don't know if it's actually haunted. Yes, it is.
The building is haunted.
Yes, which is really
Absolutely.
cool. An excellent touch.
We've had numerous like glancing experiences. I think the most active as the podcast was we used to record the podcast in the main theater space, and it left like this big vacuous background of blackness behind us. And this set of doors would. This set of doors would open slowly and close, and we'd get all kinds of sensations of things moving around behind us. It was very nice when we moved into places where the wall was like, you could sense how far away the wall was. Because when it was open, it just felt like something was always creeping up behind you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now it's filled with haunted objects, so that's fun.
Oh, when are you coming back to Savannah?
Girl, I don't know. I really want to come back as soon as possible.
Okay.
But I definitely will have to see.
Okay, because Chris has been he's been telling me we need to do an overnight here. We need to do an overnight
Yeah,
event.
we
Oh
absolutely
my gosh, I would love
and
that.
we've never done it, and it would be so easy to live stream it because I have all the equipment here and whatnot.
But you have security cameras. You should live
have
stream from the security cameras.
Yeah, I could also plug into the security cameras.
that would be amazing.
We definitely could do that. And yeah, so if you can come back, even for a night, we could potentially do that.
I'll probably do spring break.
Yeah. Okay.
Would be
okay.
super rad.
Yeah. Absolutely.
In March around my birthday. Whoop, whoop.
There you go.
Cool.
Which then I'll be 22.
Ah.
Taylor Swift vibes. But yeah, and then my other Savannah encounter actually happened last night.
Whoop. There we go.
So
Recent ghost.
So my friend Bree, who this is her first time in Savannah. She's from Texas. We're friends because we're both wildlife science majors. So she came yesterday. I got here Friday night and she came yesterday. And so we went to the Gray Face Museum, which was super cool. Highly recommend if you're into all sorts of like occult and all sorts of crazy stuff. Mm-hmm. And after that, we went to River Street Sweets. Highly recommend. Got some fudge because her mom was like, "You got to get the fudge." And we're like, "Why don't we go eat the fudge on Tybee Island and play in the water?" Which I don't remember if you can or cannot. I didn't see any signs that said you're not allowed to be on the beach. But if you do go, please make sure that.
Chris, are you?
Check.
I didn't
Oh,
know.
Yeah,
you're allowed
can?
to. You're allowed. Well, they got all kinds of stupid rules about not having dogs on the beach. So it's like
The dogs on the beach is more because Tybee is not a large beach. It doesn't have a lot of space on it. And there was a rampant series of dog dropping incidences on the beach where people just didn't pick up.
They just dropped their dogs.
No, the
No,
dogs.
Oh my
would,
gosh!
would
I hope
poop.
the dogs were all right.
Nah, dogs.
No, well, actually, that was the problem. Dogs would run
okay.
up and down the beach,
Run up and down the beach. Yeah.
poop,
Well, how
make a
did
mess.
Hilton Head Beach deal with it?
I think
Hilton Head Beach is
They
actually,
they love dogs.
Yeah.
but it's also very litigious.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
They will watch you
They will.
they will fine you.
Oh, it's-
and it will be expensive.
Yeah.
I brought Coco, who's my guide dog in training. She's not here with me. I really wish she was. To Hilton Head over July 4th. And so she got to experience the beach for the first time. And it was like, you felt like you were being watched, not by ghosts, but by people who were like, I will find you like that.
And that's fine for me because I'm a responsible dog
yeah, me
owner.
too.
Like I have dogs, so I don't go to
Responsible
Tybee.
dog owners are
That's
the ones who
it.
suffer for irresponsible
Irresponsible
dog
dog
owners.
owners.
And
No,
that's
it's true.
that's generally the truth. And Tybee
true.
is not a great beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a
You're
great
right.
beach. For people who love it, yes, you love it. It's great. I concede that there's much to love about it.
Yeah.
But the sand is coarse. The water is murky.
They don't allow dogs.
Yep. That one.
Lots of jellyfish.
Lots
Yes.
of jellyfish.
So much
the last,
freaking
I haven't
jellyfish.
swam in the ocean in almost 20 years
You're
because
missing out.
I went right into a pool of jellyfish.
Oh, that's fair.
And the last time I went, I was stung from knee to neck by a swarm of jellyfish.
Oh my gosh, knee to neck. That's crazy.
That's insane.
And I wasn't wearing a swimming suit.
Oh boy,
Ooh. I do
Lord,
not
that
envy
is
that.
pretty bad.
Yeah. And so I do not like swimming in murky water that I can't see into.
That's fair.
So real fast, y'all, I actually got something that's pretty nuts. Ashley Krieger.
Hey.
She also recently joined the team like Elle. She said the other day, I got to the theater before anyone else and was filling the holy water bottles, and someone 100% knocked on the door 3 times, but no one was out there when I opened it. And y'all, I swear on my papa's grave that 2 weeks ago, that exact same thing happened to me. Right hand to God. That exact same thing happened to me. And if Madison was here, she would be like, you told me about that 2 weeks ago. So that's freaking nuts.
That is pretty crazy.
And do not forget that, according to a lot of people, the 3 knocks is a sign of demonic presence.
I knew this thing would get dark.
So
I
we
knew
need to
this episode
sign
would
a
get dark.
contract for the demon room.
That's right.
Yeah.
Get them on the payroll right away.
Goes on the payroll. You can have all the
Well,
batteries.
and it's funny
you
because
want.
I think that the conceit is that the 3 knocks mocks the hour of Christ's death,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is also why the 3 a.m. hour is supposed to be so.
The witching hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dang.
But yeah, so sorry. Our
No.
story.
Yes.
Continue on.
We
That's what I
were so we were like, okay, after our delicious dinner at Starland Yard, highly recommend. We were like, okay, let's go eat some of our fudge on Tybee Island because why not? So we're driving there, and as we cross between Savannah and Tybee, where there's that bridge, a light in my car just turns on, like one of the overhead lights, and we both were like, "Girl, what? Like, did you need the light?" And she's like, "No," and I was like, "Well, I didn't need it. I didn't turn it on." And so we're like, "What's happening?" So I slowed down. And like the whole drive, I'd been saying like, I really don't want to get a ticket. I really don't want to get a ticket. Like I'm driving 5 under the speed limit. There are so many cops everywhere. So my guess was, as we're listening to like the Alvin and the Chipmunks version of Poker Face, anyway, I don't know. It's just what girls do.
Are you sure about that?
So I had like sped up, I guess, a little bit. And because, I'm like vibing to the song. And so that turned on. So I slowed down because I was like, what? And then we passed a cop. So I'm pretty sure something was like, girl, you're way too into this
There
song.
you go.
You need to like
You're not paying
slow
attention.
down. So it was very quiet for the rest of the drive.
Oh, man.
But yeah, she was like, I have never experienced anything like that before. Like when in Savannah, but also, girl, what? So yeah, that was
I'm surprised it didn't affect the radio. To get
I
that shit
know.
turned
It was
down.
probably was like, turn that stuff off, but it's good. It's so good. Okay. Amazing. I highly recommend. It's just what girls do, okay? But yeah, so those were my Savannah ghost stories so far. I hope to have some more experiences.
By all means, you keep coming back for more ghost stories.
Absolutely.
For sure,
That's
for
incredible.
Sure. All right, so Elle is for those of you who do not know Elle, tell them about your animal stuff because it's super important. It's actually how Elle and I bonded over the last couple months. It's very interesting.
Yeah, so I'm a 4th-year wildlife science major at the University of Georgia. Go Dogs. JT.
Florida State, go Knowles.
So I am currently studying whale shark populations, or a whale shark population in Bahia de Los Angeles, Mexico. I've kind of compiled all the data from the last 10 years and am trying to run a survivability study or trying to understand like what is the demographic of the whale shark population there. Whale sharks are super elusive species. I think the reason why I like them is because they're so much like a cryptid. We really don't know a lot about them.
I mean, they probably, even 50 years ago would have been considered
Considered
cryptid material.
cryptid-like.
Even like, and we had talked about this on the show before, which is there are so many animals that started off as cryptids.
Yeah, like
that people were like, "There's no way that
Tasmanian tiger,
existed." The
giant
narwhal,
panda, narwhal. Yeah, so,
even manatees.
Yeah.
Many people think were the original mermaid sightings that a lot of sailors would have. They'd see this mass in the water and they'd be like, it's a
mermaid.
Yeah.
It's like, you've been out to sea too long, sir.
Yeah.
Or where do you date?
Yeah, you need to touch some grass. Anyway, but yeah, so I think that's one of the reasons why I really like them because they're so elusive. We really don't know a lot about them. They're gentle giants. Like every day we learn more. So that is definitely what I have dedicated my life to up until this point and what I hope to continue to dedicate my life to. But throughout my studies,
Specifically whale sharks.
whale sharks ideally, but honestly, I'm open to anything. Don't want to cut myself off.
Sure.
But yeah, I've, done some stuff with the Georgia Sea Turtle Center. We've done like seining for diamondback terrapins on Jekyll Island, which is super fun.
That's dope.
I love all sorts of animals. They actually have a snake here, a western hognose snake named
Yeah.
Pumpkin, and he's so baby. And I could talk about animals all day long, so I'm trying to keep this short. But
No, it's all good.
yeah.
Well, so I have compiled a list of creepy animals that have to relate to the paranormal and whatnot, like legends and stuff like that. So I figured I'd go over a few with y'all and just see how you respond. All right. So the first one that I found is called the Black Shuck. Have y'all heard of the Black Shuck?
I
know.
have
I
not.
knew.
I think I have.
Going.
Yeah.
He's heard of everything. He's heard of everything. All right. The Black Shuck. I'm trying to like stump him one day. No, it doesn't freaking work. Too smart, Chris. All right. Here we go. The Black Shuck is a legendary ghostly black dog reported in East Anglia, England. Often described as large with glowing red or green eyes, the beast is said to be a harbinger of doom, which would be a cute name, Doom. The most famous encounter occurred in 1577 when the Black Shuck supposedly burst into a church in Blytheburg, killing 2 people and causing the church steeple to collapse. Marks left by its claws are still visible on the door of the church, known as the Devil's Fingerprints.
Whoa.
So I think, if I'm not mistaken, that Winston Churchill made mention of the Black Shuck and actually characterized his dark thoughts as the Black Dog.
Yeah.
He referred to it as the
heard
Black
something
Dog,
like
and I
that,
want to
yeah.
say that the Black Shuck was one of his.
Shook, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, here I am, a country. I'm like, shook. All right. Shook. Okay, that makes way more sense. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and it's like that's the scratchy part. It's like I know it,
Yeah.
but it doesn't gel completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do know because the black dog, famous throughout the world, even here in Savannah, in Buttermilk Sound, there is a black dog with red eyes,
Really?
sighting a big black
In
dog.
Buttermilk?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And there's lots of stories throughout, and even going back to Harry Potter, the Grimm, the concept of a black dog representing doom.
Yeah.
When you see it in symbology, like if you
Interesting.
see a black dog, and the Grimm is kind of a modern interpretation of the spirit of the black dog. So yeah.
There's a Pokemon called Doom, and it's a black dog, isn't it?
Houndoom, yeah.
Houndoom.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I also play a lot of Pokemon.
I was gonna say the black dog is a pretty widely known. So like to have the specifics, because then you've got like you could go down to like the Beast of Bray Road and the you know. There's so many monsters, and that's kind of where the wolves come in to Big Bad Wolf and things like that.
yeah.
Could it be related to the banshee if it's like something that's seen as like an omen?
So yes, it is. It's a ghost with a job. We
On payroll.
we love ghosts with a job. His job is to denote doom, is to denote that death is coming, and usually the Grimm. If you see the Grimm, you are going to die. Just like if you hear the banshee, you are going to die.
Yeah.
Whereas if you see like the woman in black, a child in your family is going to die. If you see a woman in white, an accident will befall someone, either you or your family member. It doesn't necessarily mean death,
Lord,
but it does mean an accident.
Okay.
So like you start to gather them and be like, oh, I see. This
Yeah.
ghost has a purpose. It's a harbinger of something specific, misfortune.
Sure.
And I do think it goes by degrees from black to white of whether or not it's death or misfortune.
Sure. Okay.
Because there's the lady in gray, there's the brown lady, there's all these ghosts, and it's like, oh, you saw the brown lady, you're going to get a canker sore, and it's going to be very painful for
Is
like
it
a
really?
week. No,
Like that? Oh, okay. I was like, is that what the brown lady means? Oh my god.
I'm suggesting that people equate seeing these specific spirits with some kind of doom.
Yeah. Okay.
With the worst of it being death.
Sure.
But the least of it being misfortune, like even loss of wealth or loss of station, like your job or something like that.
She can stay away from me, please.
Yeah. If you're under a certain net income, that ghost is not going to bother you. The ghost is like boogity boo. Oh, I'm so, here. Have
You can
$20.
have my debt. Yeah.
I'll leave some coins in your sink.
Yeah, that has happened to me before too.
Yeah, I feel bad for Dobermans and Cane Corsas, man. They're always represented as these like
As these evil
big,
dogs, right?
evil
Hellhounds and
Yeah,
Have
but
you-
every Cane Corso or Doberman I've ever met have just been like big loafs.
Have you heard of the Doggo Argentino? It's like a white cane corso, and they are so freaking cute.
Oh, now I
Oh
gotta
my
Google
gosh,
that.
Yeah.
I was gonna say they're big
Yeah.
puff balls of
Yeah.
white.
Oh my gosh, they're so cute.
Oh man. For those of you who don't know, I'm a dog freak. So is
Yes.
Elle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so is Chris.
yeah.
Yeah, I do love them.
I know. I should have brought Coke. So another thing is, I raise and train guide dogs for the blind. I was a part of the Guide Dog Foundation. So
That's so cool.
yeah, it's really
Dang.
cool. Coco's my third one.
Yeah, Elle, you're 21? You've
Yeah.
already done all that? Goodness gracious.
It's a lot of fun. So
Holy crap, dude. All right, so we got a couple more. Speaking of the devil's fingerprints, the devil's footprints.
Boom, boom, boom.
In 1855, Devon, England experienced a bizarre phenomenon known as the devil's footprints. After a heavy snowfall, a trail of hoof-like prints appeared, stretching over 100 miles. The mysterious tracks seemed to defy logic, crossing over rooftops, through walls, and even across rivers. Some claimed they belonged to the devil himself, while others believed it was a phantom animal, an otherworldly goat or demonic creature. What do y'all think?
I have heard this story as well. They suggested that it was bipedal. It wasn't a four-legged animal.
Oh, wow.
interesting. I was gonna ask, like, what are the size of the hoofs? Are they like?
They were uncannily large.
Okay, I was gonna
which is what
say-
made the argument against a goat. Like they were like, these don't look like goat prints because of
big
the
old-
size.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they did look like goat prints by their shape.
By the shape. Okay, because I was thinking like I know in the north of England, definitely around Scotland, there's the red deer.
Yeah. Deer.
Yeah. So and like deer can jump
And they
very
can get on
high.
the roof,
And-
if they wanted to.
It's cute. Deer on the roof.
I know. Well, like reindeer too.
Yeah.
Fun fact about reindeer: only the females will have antlers, and they don't shed their antlers in the winter. So all of Santa's reindeer are female. Girl power.
Boom.
Wow.
There you
That's
go.
crazy.
Fun
I
fact.
didn't know
I
that.
know. Isn't that cool?
That's wild. Wow. Fun facts with Elle.
Yeah. So that's
Someone
kind
named a
of
girl deer Vixen? That's just mean.
I know. I know. But yeah, so that's kind of what I was thinking. But I think Devon's more to the south.
It is.
So
I think.
Yeah, I think it's
My
definitely
geography's off.
Um,
But
I
I
should
do
know this.
I remember reading this story and note, by the time you get the story, it has been amended many
Yeah.
times. So
Sure,
you know,
sure.
very likely it was like a deer running around. They're like, they were gigantic hoof marks.
Yeah.
And they burned into the ground.
Yeah.
You know, it stepped on my child, and now my child is a drug addict. You know, it's
Yeah.
that kind of bizarre notions that come from the seed of a story. And one of the interesting things was how widespread these the sightings of this was,
Yeah.
which almost makes you think it might have been like some kind of stampede of animals.
Yeah.
But if it was only like if it was to suggest it was bipedal, like having only 2 feet. I mean, definitely.
And that
when you
is
look at that.
again
very
hard to verify because
Yeah.
people want it to be the story.
Yeah.
You know, that's the story that they tell. Oh, it was bipedal because
Yeah.
you can tell that it was doing
Yes.
this
Yeah.
Yeah.
rather than this.
Yeah.
Isn't there a parasite that like infects deer to make them stand on their back hooves?
I'm not sure.
There's a parasite that the zombie deer
Yeah.
Oh,
parasite.
chronic wasting disease.
Yes.
That's really interesting.
It makes
hasn't-
them behave very erratically.
Yeah.
And I have seen them walking on their hind legs.
Yeah.
Which is just
so far. it
because
hasn't-
deer are actually kind of scary.
Oh, mm-hmm.
If you encounter one, they're really quiet to
Yes.
begin with, so you can look over and be like, oh, there's a deer, and they're much bigger than you think they are when they're because at a certain distance you're like, oh, it's like a big dog, and then they get to it and say, oh no, it's like a small horse.
It's like
Yes.
Like that. There's a big difference, but hoof prints coming from in strange places always creates a fervor. We actually
Yeah.
went on a ghost hunt to the witch's graveyard.
Oh, lucky.
And we encountered hoof marks all around the graveyard. But the weirdest part of it was they seemed to be coming out of holes, like some burrowing animal with hooves. Very strange, very peculiar. And that whole experience was like, what is going on? I don't know what animal
I
would go
can't
into
think
a
of
into a
any.
hole in the ground with hooves. Maybe boar,
Maybe, but also boar are really big.
but they're really big.
Yeah.
Yeah, these holes were like
Oh no, like maybe
this.
a piglet might be able to fit in that, but like a whole boar. Mm-mm.
no.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It
Really
was very strange, very curious, because all those holes also went directly into graves,
Ooh, grave robbing deer.
like grave robbing deer. Think, I gotta get her, just hang on.
Let's title this episode "Grave Robbing Deer."
Grave robbing deers.
Our
Find
listeners will
out
be
on
like,
the next
"That's a weird-
episode.
This is a weird flex.
Weird.
All right, here we go. We got the ghostly cat of Killikee House. Killikee.
I've always
We can
wanted to do
stop
that.
this. We can stop this episode. I have the power to
No.
stop
Okay.
everything.
You say
You need a
that,
spray
but
bottle.
the listeners, they refuse.
Yeah, Parajunkie would be pretty pissed. All right. The ghostly cat of Killikee House. Killikee House in Dublin, Ireland, is famous for reports.
So are these only from the UK? Your animal ghost stories?
Yeah, I kind of like
actually really
I kind of
fitting.
like the UK ones. It's true.
Just double checking.
Killikee House in Dublin, Ireland is famous for reports of a spectral black cat. The creature is said to appear with glowing red eyes and a large, intimidating size. Several people have reported encounters with the apparition, often accompanied by a chilling feeling of dread. Legend has it that the house was once the site of occult rituals, potentially summoning the cat as a supernatural guardian or cursed spirit.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah.
As far
So there are numerous sightings throughout the UK of big black cats. Big black cats being a cryptid of the UK, and technically throughout North America we have a lot of those stories as well. But as far as spirits cats go, Why? Hang on, my
You're so famous.
I'm going to set my phone to be on silent because I forgot to do that. And there. Even in Savannah, we have like numerous sites that have ghosts, ghost cats. Most famously, the O House, the SCAD dorm.
Oh, yeah.
has a ghost cat.
I forgot about that
Yeah,
one.
I do.
So ghost cats are not abnormal. Summoning ghost cats is kind of a new angle.
Yeah.
Like, as a result of, ritualistic magic, a giant black cat shows up. Very intriguing as a narrative.
It's like a teenager who wants a cat and their parents are like, no. They're like, fine, I'll summon it.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, great dark cat.
Well, do you think it could be like maybe they summoned it to be like their familiar? Because black cats are like
are
number one familiar for all witches.
It's
Yeah.
very true. And cats in general are known for their supernatural connection. And it would make sense that if an entity were to come to Earth and try to inhabit a form, dogs and cats make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because the dogs and cats kind of have free reign.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. So you could be non-assuming, you can, exist in plain sight without a whole lot of, because if you go to YouTube or anything, you'll see like my dog's a skinwalker videos
my
or things
gosh,
where
I
they have
love
these
that.
pictures of animals just behaving just a little
Strange,
off or
yeah.
strange or just like staring in such a way that you're like, oh, there's something wrong with that animal. It's reasonable to believe that a spirit that could take any form would rather take an animal than a human because it'd be far more noticeable
yeah.
when a human behaves in such a way
Sure.
or can't assimilate completely than to see a cat behaving strangely and be like, well, what a weird cat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm also trying to think like just native fauna, fauna being like another term for like animals. In the UK, as far as I understand, like really the main predators are going to be wolves, like gray wolves. So I've never really heard of like a cat.
Yeah, famously, there are no big cats.
Big cats, yeah, in Europe in general.
Yeah, in most of Europe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
And if there are, it was usually because of an introduction through,
Yeah.
like a Tiger King situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like no. I remember we were in Scotland. Maddie and I were in Scotland, and they were like, "Yeah, there's nothing that can kill you here, animal wise."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Wow, that's crazy. You can go in these
But
super
a
scary dark
weasel will
woods."
make your life miserable for a
A
little
weasel,
while.
yeah.
Yeah.
They will break your leg.
They're so cute though with the noses. All right. The last one is not from the UK.
Oh,
Smarty pants. It is the werewolves of Wisconsin.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Oh, you do? You know? Okay.
Yeah.
In the late 20th century, sightings of a creature resembling a werewolf began to surface around Elkhorn, Wisconsin. Named the Beast of Bray Road.
I
The
literally
animal
just
is
named that animal.
huh?
What?
Didn't you? When we were talking about the black dog, I literally said the Beast of Bray Road.
Oh man, I didn't even hear that. I must have been thinking of something. Wow, that's crazy. Named the Beast of Bray Road, the animal is described as a large wolf-like creature that walks on two legs and has glowing yellow eyes. Some witnesses claim it has supernatural abilities, disappearing and reappearing at will, leaving only deep claw marks in the ground. The sightings have been ongoing for decades, leading some to believe the beast is not a natural creature, but a paranormal entity, possibly even a shape shifter.
Yeah, I was thinking possible skinwalker or something like that because I know that they're over there. Isn't that like the Skinwalker Cave or something like that up in that region?
Oh, I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Something like that.
Because it gets really tricky because it's all about, ideally, skinwalkers are almost entirely a Navajo
Yeah.
construct, but but there are skinwalker like entities throughout. Just different tribes have different. Even skinwalker is not the correct name. I mean, skinwalker is a word for English speaking people to have a definition for. The actual name it escapes me now. But this actually sounds a lot like the Rougarou, or the Dog Man of Louisiana.
The Rougarou?
The Rougarou. You go look out for the Rougarou. You're gonna come on vacation. Yeah, the Rougarou. The Rougarou. I may be mispronouncing it, but that's how it's spelled, Rougarou. And it is a large bipedal black dog. Dog man. A lot of people call it dog man. I once met a man who had an encounter with what he believed was the Rougarou, and when he described it, because I've always heard it, and it's like a dog man. It's like, okay, dog man, I guess that's scary enough.
Yeah.
But the way he described it was like an Anubis. A jackal, giant jackal, like, you know, it had like skinny, long legs, long snout, massive and muscular, like 7 to 8 feet tall.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh yeah, that's much more menacing than I wanted it to be. You know,
Yeah.
It's like, I was not prepared for that. And his story was that he was in a boat on the bayou, and he saw a dog's head above the water. Like, you know, dog paddling.
Sure,
And he saw it and he was like, oh gosh, that dog is, you know, way from anywhere. So he's trying to like veer towards it to get it into the boat, but it was going towards the shore. And when it got out on the shore, it was a human shape with a huge dog head, and got out and it shook out and it was just jet black. And he's like trying to turn the boat around.
He's like, screwed it.
He's like, no, I want nothing to do with that. So, I came across the Beast Bay Road a long time ago, and I just think it's a really interesting story.
Yeah.
And I wondered about how the Mississippi cuts right up, you know, the middle of and it's like, you know, if the legends are that that's kind of where the Rougarou exists, is around the Mississippi basin down in Louisiana. If it didn't, like, you know, latch onto a boat and find its way further and further up north. I think that the Beast of Bay Road, in my mind, has a very close linkage to the Rougarou or the dog man.
Yeah, I mean, that would make sense definitely with the Mississippi River, where it is, and like how close it is to Wisconsin, if I remember right. I'm a biologist, not a geologist.
Well, the fact that
whatever maps is.
it kind of goes up into Iowa, and so there's plenty of forks for it to take.
Yeah.
You know, it'll get you up, you know, to Illinois at least, and then from there you can, you know, easily find your way to Wisconsin. And I would imagine that Wisconsin has a lot of wide open space for creatures like this.
Yeah.
And I mean, if it was found in like the bayou in the water, I mean, that probably implies that it's a pretty good swimmer.
I've been fascinated by the Rougarou as a folk legend, because the question was, is it a man that turns into a beast? Is it a werewolf kind of situation? Is it always a dog? Is it, you know, and is it a curse? Is it a supernatural being? Is it, you know, how does it operate? And some people liken it to hoodoo and voodoo traditions and think that it has something to do with that, some form of conjuring, some kind of thing like that. But it's one of those like, well, that's an all-American kind of creation in a lot of ways, because it seems to derive and propagate in the southern states. But when I started reading about the Beast of Bray Road, it made me wonder, oh, is this the same entity, the same creature?
But also isn't like water super, not controversial for spirits, but like they don't, like you typically associate water. It's like they don't like to cross it. So it's really interesting if it can do
in
both.
spirit form they can't.
Oh,
but in physical form they can.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Which brings about this interesting like debate of spirit beings and physical beings, because there are, like, the skinwalker is a physical being of a supernatural spiritual thing, but it's physical. It's not a spirit. Ideally, conceptually, the spirit cannot cross over water, or it takes a tremendous effort for a spirit to cross over water. And I think that has to do with the belief that land has some kind of regenerative and powerful fuel for supernatural beings. And water actually takes, so it actually draws it rather than gives it.
Wow. All right. Well, next time you disagree with someone, you can just say, we get along like ectoplasm and water.
There you go.
That's a good one.
All right, Elle, this has been awesome. Well, seriously, we appreciate you coming, and we appreciate your stories, and we hope to have you back. And I think we should do a investigation of the underground.
An overnight.
I think it's great. I think that'd be awesome. I know our neighbors on both sides will be out. They're going to be out till January most likely, and they're going to be out soon. So when the building's empty, maybe we can do like an investigation. But
make a special trip down.
That sounds good. So Chris, go ahead and close your show.
Thank you very much for joining us. This has been a wonderful episode of Most Haunted Podcast on Earth. Most Haunted City on Earth. Most Haunted City on Podcast Earth. Most Podcast on City on Haunted Earth. Earth Podcast Haunted City Earth.
Yep, you got us.
Nailed it.
Thank you for joining us. This has been Chris Susie.
And Elle Dougherty, not Madison Timmons.
Stay spooky, y'all.
Police.